Welcome, 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 everybody. This is the Less is More Coaching Podcast / videocast, and I am Coach Les, and I'm here today. We are going to be discussing the 10 critical laws of relationship, a book that was written by Rob Thompson. And I want to just do a quick shout out from mancavepodcasting.com with Steve Appel, who is been my most gracious executive director of this podcast since I started about 4 months ago, and is helping me by giving me a little bit of coaching on starting and working my way through some of the trials and tribulations of podcasting. And I want to start this morning, or this afternoon, by just sharing and starting a little bit about this book and telling those of you that might not have heard about this book, to share with you the introduction to this book, because I think he has done such a really good job at the very beginning of this book. It says, your relationships define your future. And this is what other leaders are saying about the 10 critical laws of relationship. There's a couple quotes that I'd like to throw in there because they definitely flow in some good understanding. Dr. Rob Thompson has an understanding of why relationships break down and how they can either be protected or restored. I would recommend this book to anyone who wants to experience success with other people. This is Dr. Bill Gothard. The challenge of building long-term mutually beneficial relationship crosses all cultural, sexual, and age barriers. And now, at last, we have some usable, practical principles that will reveal to us as we are and show us how we can change for the better. Reading through Dr. Rob Thompson's new book, The 10 Critical Laws of Relationship, will take you through a mental corridor of mirrors, exposing every facet of avoidance, falsehood, and weakness in your relationships. And then, like a directional compass, point you toward a pathway of truth, kindness, and confidence. I recommend you read and study this fine work and enjoy the benefit that it will bring to you and those you want to relate to. This person says, I wish I had this book 50 years ago. Dr. Peter J. Daniels, and an international business statesman from Australia. All right, let me dive into this. On the forward, hi, Gary. Hi, Carla. Welcome. These are people that are listening on Clubhouse. Invite you up onto the stage if you want to join as I continue to read and set the stage, and we'll be doing throwing some questions back and forth to the audience and also to people that are commenting on Facebook. And this is LinkedIn. Hi, Catherine Erickson. How are you? Every relationship contains rules. Those rules are unspoken, undocumented, and varied. The rules must be discerned, respected, and honored for the relationship to have impartation, longevity, or the strength to withstand seasons of adversity. Every uncommon friendship will have an uncommon adversary. Every garden has a snake. Remember the Garden of Eden? Adam and Eve walked with God in a perfect environment, and yet the snake emerged. Every gift from God will be contested severely. That's why this book is so very important. Your success depends on your relationships completely. The Bible is the master handbook on relationships, discerning the master keys to unlocking the divine potential in them. Few have studied relationships more than Dr. Rob Thompson. Few have ever invested more in their friendships than Dr. Rob Thompson. Our long years of treasured friendship have enriched my life, unlocked my understanding, and multiplied my celebration of his life. His unique and distinctive ministry reveals an unparalleled life of excellence. His unwavering obsession for excellence has birthed a worldwide audience of protégés who view his mentorship as invaluable, priceless, and essential to their success. The 10 critical laws of relationship could change your life forever. This is Dr. Mike Murdoch. He's a founder and senior pastor of the Wisdom Center in Fort Worth, Texas. And here we jump into the introduction. We live in a society of extreme commotion and agitation. Lifetimes begin and end in a whirlwind of superficial activity and endless hustling to simply make a living. Yet at the core of every person is a desire to discover something deeper. The heart of man possesses profound longings for meaning and purpose. When we make the time to quiet ourselves and do an inward assessment, the questions begin to emerge. Why am I here? Is there a purpose for my life? Is there a specific assignment that I am supposed to fulfill? How do I discover this assignment? And once I do know, how can I ever make it come to pass? And a brief interjection here. These points are so valid if you think about Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. If you think about Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why. All of these questions. And once I do know, how can I ever make it come to pass? Do you find these questions stirring within you? Are you searching for the insights and tools needed to step into your destiny? If so, you've picked up the right book. Because I have discovered a secret that will revolutionize your life. Here it is. Those closest to you will determine the outcome of your life. In other words, the single most important factor defining your future is the relationships you embrace. Your life is built by relationships. You will receive both the consequences and the rewards of those who are closest to you. Relationships are like buttons on an elevator. Some will take you up, but most will take you down. Some take you up fast and others take you down fast, whether you recognize it or not. Every relationship you have is taking you somewhere. In fact, these relationships have made you the person you are today. Both the good things that you are and every ugly thing that you dislike about yourself. We live in a very individualistic society where people take great pride in their independence and ability to stay detached from others. Ever since childhood, they've always wanted to do it themselves and prove to the world that they can make it on their own. Invested relationships are seen as unnecessary baggage, a detriment and a hindrance to forward progress. But nothing could be further from the truth. The mentality of independence is dangerous and will lead you down a path of destruction. The wise king, Solomon, once said, "A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment." Proverbs 18:1. To isolate yourself is to celebrate selfishness. And to celebrate selfishness is to eliminate God from the equation of your life. Isolation provides a false sense of security. It creates an atmosphere of relational irresponsibility. I will discuss this in greater detail as we journey through this book. Humanity was never built for independence, but rather for interdependence. We begin to realize our highest potential only when we take the risk to believe in one another, become transparent, and celebrate the right people in our lives. The truths outlined in this book will enable you to maximize every relationship in your life. You will begin to recognize the special relationships that have strategically entered your life to advance you to a higher level of personal effectiveness. You will see that these individuals were sent by God as divine links to your future. They are the doorways to your life's purpose. Once you recognize the fact that God has positioned these people around you to assist you, you will no longer feel driven to compete with people. You won't have to try to beat them out of anything, because you will recognize that they have been placed in your life for your improvement, not for your judgment. These 10 critical laws govern every relationship. Understanding them will help you discern the correct posture in any relationship. You will know if you are the teacher or a student, a peer or a protege, an engine or a caboose. Should you approach the relationship asking questions, or are you expected to make statements and answer questions? Is this a relationship that you must pursue for the betterment of your future, or is this a relationship that you must avoid because of the potential pain that it will create? This book will answer these and many more of your questions concerning this very critical area of life: relationships. After 20 years of observing human behavior, I have seen these laws at work in my personal relationships and in those of others that I have been privileged to lead and counsel. Implementing them will unlock the door to your future, your assignment, and your purpose. Dr. Rob D. Thompson, the introduction to his book. The first law we're going to talk about in this book, the 10 critical laws of relationships. The first one we're going to discuss, that I can't wait to have conversations with, is the law of agreement. It is impossible to walk through life with another unless the celebration of common values is present. The first law governs the basic reason why people get into relationship. They must first agree upon a central premise from which they can begin to relate. Remember, many of you, I'm sure, that are here, those of you on stage, Wade and Padeline, and those of you in the Coaches Lounge, Gary and Donna, and in the audience, Carla and Martha. You've heard this one before. You will become like those with whom you associate. In fact, you've probably heard it said as you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, is one way to hear it. Secondly, the quality of your life is greatly dependent upon those you call friend. Low self-esteem has plagued so many people because of poor self-image. We've befriended people who have either exploited us or at best just used us. We find it hard to believe that anyone of good standing would want to be in a relationship with us. So the right relationships don't just come to us. We have to pursue them. That's the difference between one falling into a relationship and another choosing to step into a relationship with others. How do you do this? How can you recognize if a person is one with whom you can walk in agreement on the important issues of life? So one of the things with that is, I believe, and the first chapter going through here, and I'm going to share the highlights of the chapter, is about 22 pages. And when you look at this, it says, okay, so what are the qualities you're looking for in a friendship? And what is it that you see are the requirements? And the 6 non-negotiables that are listed by this particular book, and which, as you will hear in just a moment, have really struck a chord with me, and you can definitely see that God put this book in my lap as an integrity coach. The first non-negotiable of a fulfilling relationship: personal integrity. The second is a giving attitude. The third is an unswerving commitment to truth. The fourth is a long-term perspective and commitment. Number 5 is a passionate pursuit of distinction. And 6 is a kingdom mentality. And so the law of agreement, which I found very interesting at the end here. And as I read this, I'd love for you to kind of keep track of some points, because I'd love to hear each of you that wants to share, whether on stage or in the back channel, if you would be willing to share with me what your thoughts are of this law of agreement and what the characteristics are that you agree with or that you have of your own. Once again, the law of agreement: it is impossible to walk through life with another unless the celebration of common values is present. You will become like those with whom you associate. The quality of your life is greatly dependent upon those you call friend. Our closest allies must always prize integrity above relationship. You may get what you want, but you will lose what you have. Always be cautious of someone who wants from you what he himself is unwilling. Always be cautious of someone who wants from you what he himself is unwilling to give. Woo-hoo! To walk through life according to principle often means you must walk alone. Whatever you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. The level of commitment to truth determines the level of intimacy that two can enjoy in any relationship. Your associations will determine your assimilations. Every relationship you have is either drawing you closer to or further from God's perfect will for your life. I never make the pleasurable people of my present pay for the painful people of my past. Ooh, that's a great one. I mean, how many of us have in a relationship, in like a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, have put the failures of a girl before or a man before onto the next one? And you have to finally catch yourself and reorient right as everything's about to blow up. The kind of requirements you place upon others reveals the kind of person that you are. Watch what a person does and stop just listening to what a person says. I will experience my greatest moments and fulfill the destiny to which I've been called only as I remain faithful Watch what a person does and stop just listening to what a person says. I will experience my greatest moments and fulfill the destiny to which I've been called only as I remain faithful to divinely ordained relationships. So those are the notes. And what I will do is I will take a screenshot of this, the law of agreement, and I will add it to my story and Instagram to make it possible for people to share it. And I would love to hear from Wade, what do you think about the law of agreement?
Well, it's not by cliche I say this, but I agree. For the mere fact is, if we don't share common values and celebrate them together, and I have experience because I say it like I've lived two lives, and I literally have. I've lived a life of utter desperation because I was unwilling to walk through life alone, desperate for any kind of friendship or relationship. And I accepted pretty muchly anything that we would say wouldn't be illegal activity. Maybe sometimes got very close to accepting things that are illegal activity. Thankfully, I didn't go to that place, but let's just say there were times when it was thought about. So getting back to what we're talking, where we're at is, I put it like this. I'm on this road. I have my vision. I have my why in alignment with my Creator God. And if the people I associate with, meaning people I spend a lot of time with, are not on that same type of journey and path, the roadway of life, I've got to get off the exit ramp of them, because I'm going to fall backwards. We're either moving forward or backwards. Personal growth to me is an uphill battle, literally. And in order to do that, I do need support. And that's why when I had the opportunity to rejoin Clubhouse, it'd be spend time with Coach Les and the community in a room just like where we're at today. I either get reminded of what I may not be, putting enough attention to, or inspired to recommit to some things. And I'm very glad that we have this opportunity. I think this is a book I'm going to enjoy very much, as I actually today in my planner wrote as one of my goals is about relationships and wanting to be more intentional in those relationships and what I do with them and how I treat other people, spend the time I spend with them, the importance of that. So I'm complete. I'm going to yield my mic now.
Thank you, Wade. I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing that. And with that, Paddlin, what do you think of the law of agreement?
Oh, I realized I was muted. I'm a minister, and so I'm click more with like my grandfather's a pastor, and so I agree. Also, I can take it a step further and say that when you're, and I've learned this from experience, when you're talking with people, be sure to be slow, because the Bible talks about being slow to anger. And I think that's one of the crucial steps to having a good relationship, is making sure that when you disagree with somebody, you don't just fly off the wall, or, like, I've never, like, hit anybody, but I have kind of raised my voice when, something, or just got real quiet, so I think that, I think we just got to be careful, I guess you could say is a word. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I actually got the book from Apple Books and plan on reading it.
Thank you so much, Petalyn. Really appreciate your share, and I'm super excited to have this discussion with you. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Also, my pastor just introduced me yesterday. I'm reading his books. His name is Miles Monroe. He's taught politicians how to be better leaders as well. So I thought I would tell you about that as well.
Excellent. If you're able to, I'd love for you to share his name on in the back channel with me. That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Petalyn.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Joey. Welcome. And Holly Troughton. Hello. Long time no see. Welcome. Darlene, great to see you. And Gary, appreciate you being here. If you get a chance to come on up, I'd love to. But if you do have a question or something and you want to back channel it, that'd be awesome too. Oh, Darlene, you're at work. Got it. Well, thanks for being here to listen. I love being your podcast. Woohoo! All right, Joey, the question of the day. Are you able to? There you are. Okay. So we just shared, and I'm going to go through it because I don't know if Darlene and Holly were here. So I'll just go through it briefly. The Law of Agreement. So this book is The 10 Critical Laws of Relationship by Dr. Rob Thompson. And we're discussing the first chapter, and the first chapter is the Law of Agreement. And it starts off with, it is impossible to walk through life with another unless the celebration of common values is present.
Okay.
And there are 14 little laws that I will rattle off, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. And Holly, or if you'd like to come up and share, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them as well. You and some of these will, sound familiar, said different ways by other people. You will become like those with whom you associate. The quality of your life is greatly dependent on those you call friend. Our closest allies must always prize integrity above relationship. You may get what you want, but you will lose what you have. Always be cautious of someone who wants from you what he himself or herself is unwilling to give. To walk through life according to principle often means you must walk alone. Whatever you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. The level of commitment to truth determines the level of intimacy that two can enjoy in any relationship. Your associations will determine your assimilations. Every relationship you have is either drawing you closer to or further from God's perfect will for your life. I never make the pleasurable people of my present pay for the painful people of my past. The kind of requirements you place upon others reveals the kind of person that you are yourself. Watch what a person does and stop just listening to what a person says. I will experience my greatest moments and fulfill the destiny to which I've been called only as I remain faithful to divinely ordained relationships. So you can see this is a whole bunch of agreements to create your relationships inside of. And I got your room chat, Holly. Thank you. If you happen to get into a good area and you'd love to join us, that would be great. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Sorry, I had to get the mic off.
No worries.
I'm great. How are you doing? This is actually my first time in this room, but thank you for inviting me up here into the room and into this space. I was just reading the different profiles in here, and I love that Wade is with Zig Ziglar Corporation. Zig Ziglar was my first ever mentor, actually, back in my sales days, and led me into the sales training industry. Actually, within 2 months of listening to him at a seminar and going up and speaking with him afterwards, I went on to become the top sales person in that particular industry, or in that with that company. And then I went on to train my clients because they had seen such growth, and they asked me to train them, and that actually started me on my entrepreneurial journey. So I just was reading Wade's bio, and I thought, Zig Ziglar, love that man.
Excellent. Well, that's how I met Wade. Is he and I met at Zig Ziglar certification for legacy speaker and legacy coach.
Fantastic. Well, I learned quite a bit, and I will tell you one thing that I will never forget from Zig Ziglar is he used to carry a round, you will know this, a round to it, where he had a little, piece of, I can't remember if he put it on a coin or took a little piece of cardboard. On one side it said round, and the other side said, or it was round, and then he had a 2 on one side and it on the other. And when people would say, I'll get back to you when I get around to it, or I'll, touch base with you, or think about this contract when I get around to it, and he would pull that out of his pocket. And I did that one time. I'll never forget it. It was with Mazda at the time, who ended up going on to buy the back cover of the magazine I was selling ad space for. I locked him into a 2-year contract. And it was simply because I remembered that, and I pulled out that round to it, and he thought it was so funny that it cinched the deal for me.
Isn't that great, the way things work like that? To create agreement with customers, some of the things and some of the tools that we can bring to bear. In fact, that, it's the first of the law of agreement from Rob Thompson, is you will become like those with whom you associate. And so here you associated with Zig Ziglar, took on one of his amazing qualities and used it to propel you into success. It's excellent. Well, with that, Joey, what do you think about the law of agreement?
Well, I mean, as far as some of the ones that was shared,
yes,
I like the one that said being truthful. I can't remember the exact quote right now, but it had to do with being truthful. And which one was it? Maybe 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, the level of commitment to truth determines the level of intimacy that two can enjoy in any relationship.
Yeah, I like that one. I think out of all of them, that's the one that kind of stood out. I think when we talk about relationships and what we want to share with people, whatever level of intimacy you're talking about, whether it's a spouse or it's intimacy, it comes in different shapes and forms. It doesn't always have to be just between two partners. It could be just intimacy and what you're willing to share, how vulnerable you're willing to get. I think the trust factor is a huge key with those relationships, and the truth, speaking to someone that's trustworthy, allows you to relax and let down your guard and become more vulnerable and go into that deeper relationship, as opposed to other relationships where you're just not sure of that person. Maybe they broke your trust. Maybe you just maybe they didn't break your trust to you specifically, but you know their character. You see how they handle other situations. You're the recipient of gossip, so you know that if they're talking to you, they're talking to other people. So yeah, that one kind of resonated with me when we're talking about how we enter into relationships, and then how we also proceed moving forward with relationships.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. And remember, these characteristics govern every successful relationship. Lacking any one of some of these will constitute a crack in the foundation of our relationship. And I think prior to you popping in, Joey, we spoke about the 6 non-negotiable attributes of any fulfilling relationship, even outside of the law of agreement. 1 was personal integrity, of course, my favorite. 2, a giving attitude. 3, an unswerving commitment to truth. 4, a long-term perspective and commitment. 5, a passionate pursuit of distinction. And 6, a kingdom mentality. And if you cannot find anyone around you, patiently cultivate these traits within yourself, and soon you will attract the right person into your life. So, Kim, what do you think of those 6 non-negotiables or the laws of agreement?
Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
I was in an area where I couldn't get the reception. I could hear some of what you were saying, but not being able to get the reception. And you cut out for a little bit, so I only heard a very brief portion of that.
Okay, well, let me repeat the 6 non-negotiables, and so that you can give your opinion on full information. So the first one is personal integrity. The second is a giving attitude. The third is an unswerving commitment to truth. 4th is a long-term perspective and commitment. And 5, a passionate pursuit of distinction. And 6, a kingdom mentality. And these are the 6 non-negotiable attributes of any fulfilling relationship.
You know, I love these, but I think that something that really has always stood out for me is a giving attitude. And I know that whenever I get stuck in my own internal mental chatter, maybe it be self-doubt, maybe it be questioning, what am I doing? Or feeling a little bit lost, or just not truly in alignment with my own self, and questioning things and getting caught up in that. When I can step outside of that, and when I can get into, okay, let me go somewhere where I can give, where I can share, where I can be of value or in service to someone else, it completely switches things for me. And I realized, actually, Zig Ziglar said that too. You know, you can get anything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And I think there's so much truth to that and so much wisdom in that. But I think it's because it's twofold. It does help us to step outside of ourselves, but thereby helping other people. And isn't that what really the world and God designed our world to be like? Being in service to others and not only allowing our light to shine, and thereby allowing God to work through us, because let's face it, spirit is always looking for expression. And I believe that God expresses through us. And when we allow ourselves to open up to that, and by giving to others, we also, as Marianne Williamson said in Course in Miracles, we unconsciously give others permission to let their light shine too. And so it just becomes this beautiful, I think, a beautiful example to what God truly wants for all of us, to work collaboratively and to complement each other as we do so.
Well said. Thank you. I think, Marianne Williamson, out of everything She's the one that wrote, our greatest fear is that we're greater than we could possibly imagine. And I think that having that and that giving attitude, I love the giving attitude. For me, it's just a core principle for me. Even though I'm the integrity coach, a giving attitude has been my core principle, especially coming here on Clubhouse and doing these rooms and offering these as an opportunity to provide coaching at no charge for people on Clubhouse and creating these empowering conversations. And the thing that I want to call out to is, for me, we all have a set in our minds of non-negotiables, which may be very different from these, especially in our significant other relationships. And I've often been criticized about my list. I call it my perfect partner wish list. And yet, for the first time in my experience, I married this amazing lady, Kristen, and she is the culmination of everything on my perfect partner wish list, save one thing, and that is being a wine drinker, because she is a teetotaler, hasn't had a drink in 6 years. And what was so amazing about it, when we discussed it and looked at that, she was like, Les, just look at it this way. You will always have a sober cab. And what has started happening is she has enjoyed learning to smell the nuances that she hears me talk about, because I've been teaching and training people. I'm a certified sommelier about wine for over 20 years. And so it's become something fun. And years ago, I had a housemate who had been sober for 40 years, and he had a better nose than I did. So I would often sit down and write my reviews on wine, and he would join me at the kitchen table and sit back and relax and smell all the wines that I was doing and help me with the notes for wine. So for me, I look at the quality of my life now in surrounding myself, i.e. my wife, who we have a similar level of integrity. We both have a giving attitude. We have a massive, unswerving commitment to truth. That's been a blessing times 10. A passionate pursuit of distinction. Well, for me, distinction is one of those things where to distinguish the authenticity and the root of a question, or the authenticity or root of an issue, became this amazing place of peace and serenity for me. The closer I focus to these things, especially the kingdom mentality, the closer to ground I got, and the closer that I had to be able to work with a client and have that client sell themselves. So with that, yep, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly comment. And are you broadcasting on different platforms?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So I'll share just a real quick share, Coach. Just a personal thought and story. With getting married at 20. So that would have been, that's 27 years ago, almost 28 years ago. And, dating at 18, I'll say this, everything discussed today so far, in the 14 and the 6, different comments and quotes, or things that you've mentioned so far. Personal story is, we didn't have this information, right? 20 years when we first got married at 20 or 18 or anything like that, 1994. So I will say I agree with everything, right, in an ideal situation. But for us, I think we didn't have, I heard you just mention too, the perfect companion. Like that wasn't on our radar. But we were young, we had love going for us, and this is what we decided. And we're both, 28 years, 38 years together. It's been not going to say, lying if I said it was always easy, right? It's marriage, but it's been exactly, we're soulmates, we're lifelong partners. And I guess what I'm trying to communicate is, I feel like the list that we've discussed, we've grown into, and have realized the things that you've just discussed, but they weren't things that we knew before we got into this. So, the process and the process, if I was getting married now after all these years, and hearing a podcast like that, and it might change. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, beautifully.
Awesome, because I got a call. It might, maybe might have a different outlook on how I view relationships, but I didn't have that, right? So, but I'll say, I feel, so not having all of this, it's like, well, how did you survive? I feel like we've been able to grow unknowingly, without these 14 and 6 and the partnership companion, thoughts and everything. We were able to grow, and these things, they make sense to me now. They weren't what we practiced. They were probably the areas where we failed. But we were able to from this list, I could see how we applied these through our relationship, although we had no idea we were applying these in our relationship. And it was growing and learning together, making tons of mistakes, but nonetheless persevering. 28 years. So I'll yield.
Beautiful, Joey. Thank you. Thank you so much, and I appreciate this. And as we go through this, the 10 critical laws of relationship, because we're nearing the time of ending the show today, I just want to say this: I am so excited to talk about this because, as you know, I am very big on relationships. So I just want to share what the other 9 laws are, so that you can kind of get a taste of what we're going to be talking about over the next 9 weeks, as we're going to talk about each of these laws. The law of access, the unspoken rules both to access and to remain in relationship. And that's actually probably the longest one. Then there is the law of covenant. The mark of a healthy relationship is security, which is a result of trust. The law of single purpose. The celebration of any relationship is dependent upon the clear definition of purpose and vision. The next is the law of exclusivity. Authentic commitment demands selectivity, not inclusivity. The next one, which is the law of transparency, which is chapter 6. Complete disclosure is an indispensable characteristic of all meaningful relationships. Oh, I love that one. It's my favorite. The next is the law of mutual benefit. The quality of any relationship is completely dependent upon the willingness of mutual respect. The next one is the law of sacrifice. Sacrifice is the road traveled on the journey to your divine destiny. The next one is the law of synergy. The law of synergy. One can chase 1,000, but 2 will put 10,000 to flight. Oh, that one sounds awesome. And the last one is the law of ascent. Walk with the great, and you will become great. So with that, I want to thank you for today. I want to thank you for joining on stage, and thank you for Darlene and for listening from work, and Holly while you're driving. I just want to do my fun little outro, and then I will close the room and look forward to seeing you next week. Same time. We start at 2:30. Excuse me, at 3 o'clock. I apologize. I get ready at 2:30. At 3 o'clock Central Standard. And it has been life-changing. So thank you. And here we go.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guy.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Still.